feel like it has been absolutely ages since I filmed here. Like, hello. Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to have another little chat about university, applications and specifically interviews. Now this is a video that I've been wanting to film for quite some time, but I've just never got around to it. And I felt as though the occasion had kind of passed us by, but then recently I've had a few people message me on Instagram asking about interviews and my experience and any tips and tricks that they have. So I thought I would still make this video anyway. Even though probably the majority of interviews that are going on for this session have probably passed, if this video helps one or two people, then it's still going to be worth it. I know for a fact that Aberdeen's primary ed interviews aren't actually until next week, so that's something. So in this video I wanted to sit down and just discuss my experience of interviewing to come to university, and at the end I'm going to just talk about a few little tips and tricks that you should keep in mind if you are going through an interview process. So whether it's for this year, next year, 5 years time down the line, I feel like the tips I'm going to give you will still matter. So I'm not going to ramble anymore and we're just going to get into it. And firstly I thought I would talk a little bit about my experience when I was interviewing. I have a little sheet with some notes on it, so if I keep looking down here, that is why. So just a quick little bit of background in case any of you are new to my channel. I study primary education. I'm in my third year now at the University of Aberdeen. But when I was applying, I applied to obviously Aberdeen, Dundee, Stirling and Edinburgh. And this is my experience. So after I'd applied and sent off UCAS, done all that stuff, and I started hearing back from some of the universities, I found out that I had an interview for Edinburgh, Dundee and Aberdeen. On the year that I applied and at the open day we got told that Stirling wouldn't do interviews and you just hear back one way or the other, so I obviously didn't have an interview there. So I had 3 interviews in total, 2 of which were group interviews and 1 was a one-to-one. I cannot see out these glasses, give me a wee second. I don't know how my glasses get so dirty so fast, but it's actually vile. So Edinburgh and Dundee were both group interviews and Aberdeen was the one-to-one. I had Edinburgh and Dundee first and then Aberdeen was my last interview that I had. So in our group interviews, this is for Edinburgh and Dundee, we first started off by signing in at a little reception area, then we went into a lecture theatre where we all sat and waited for everyone all to get there. And then after a little while we all got called out into groups. Each individual group was then taken to a separate room and that's where our interview started. Now the process of the interview was slightly different for both universities, and this was over 3 years ago that we're talking now, so my memory is a little bit hazy, but from what I remember, in Edinburgh the group interview started off with each of us doing an individual presentation that we had pre-prepared. I can't remember whether we all got given the same question or it was different, but I had to do my presentation on the 1+2 approach to languages in primary education, so I think it was about a 3 to 5 minute presentation about that, and then it would spark a discussion amongst the group. So everyone each did their presentations, there was a little discussion after it, and then we just got thrown a few questions. I think there was 3 interviewers to a group of about 9 of us, and that was the kind of format of the interview. It was mainly just question and answer, a little bit of discussion around the table, whereas at Dundee, once we got taken into our separate rooms, we got given a task. And I remember quite clearly that the task was to design a playground with an allocated amount of money, which was quite a fun task, but I don't really see how it had much to do with education. I understand that they were wanting to observe us interacting with others and how we put our ideas out there and how well we were communicating as a group, but I feel like they could have done something that was a little bit more education based rather than architecture and design based. But yeah. And I'm pretty sure after that happened we did have some sort of discussion, question and answer session after that, but I do remember that Dundee was quite informal compared to what we were doing in Edinburgh, and not gonna lie, I didn't really enjoy the group interviews. Obviously there is a place for them because they allow interviewers to see how you interact as a group and it allows them to gauge how well you're able to get your points across in a big group of people, but at the same time I feel as though when you're in an interview for about an hour with 9 other people, you're really not going to be able to show yourself off as much as you would be able to if it was a one-on-one interview. I'm the type of person that would never talk over someone just to try and get my point across. If someone's talking, I want to wait until they've finished and then I'll add my point in. But in these group interviews, there were quite a few people that were just there trying to talk over everyone, trying to shout across the room, and I'm not gonna lie, they probably didn't get a place at these universities, but at the same time it makes it really, really difficult for you to then stand up and get your point across, because you know that they're just going to try and shout over you as well. So that kind of put me off, and I feel as though I didn't say as much as I could have said in those interviews just because of the weird environment. But in saying that, the group interviews were quite fun on occasion. I definitely preferred the Dundee one to the Edinburgh one. I just was, nah. The Edinburgh one was a no-go, and that combined with the open day made me realise I really didn't want to go to Edinburgh uni. Whereas the Dundee interview was pretty relaxed, and I got on quite well with the people I was in a group with. And that is another huge factor. Sometimes you'll be in a group with people that you just really get on with, and other times you'll be in a group with people that you would literally never associate yourself with outside of that interview, and you just kind of need to suck it up for the few hours that you're there and get on with it. And then moving on to my Aberdeen interview, this was a solo interview. It was a one-on-one, and I'm not gonna lie, I really, really enjoyed this interview. At first, when I was driving up to the uni, I was so nervous because it was a one-on-one interview. I literally felt sick the full drive up to Aberdeen. But as soon as I got into that room and sat down and started talking with the woman, I felt so much more at ease. I knew that I didn't have to shout over anyone. I knew that the questions that she was asking were specifically for me. I knew that if I had any trouble, I could ask her to repeat the question, and that was a lot more soothing, and I actually really, really enjoyed the interview. Generally speaking, it was a Q&A style interview. She would ask a question, I would answer, we'd then build on different points. There was a lot of focus on my previous experiences up until that point. So for example, in my personal statement, I wrote that during one of my 3 weeks of study leave in 5th year, I wrote to a local primary school and went there to do a week of work experience. And obviously that was something that she was really keen to explore, so a lot of the interview was based off of that and the experiences that I'd gained from that. And then obviously there were the usual questions about the education system, what's happening in Scotland, what you know about the Curriculum for Excellence, your thoughts on the Curriculum for Excellence. And I'm not gonna lie, the woman was so lovely, she put me at ease so much, and the interview is probably one of the main reasons that I chose to come to Aberdeen. I felt as though the support that was there during the interview process was really significant, and I thought if that's what they're giving to people that are just here for like 1 hour to do an interview, what are they going to be doing for the people that are here for 4 years studying? Once it finished, I came downstairs, I found my mum again, and I was just like, oh my god, that was so good. I was so happy with the way it had gone, and I've always been one that's pretty petrified of public speaking, interviews, anything that I know that someone's judging what I'm saying. And for something like that to go so well, I was just like so happy. So we drove home, got a wee chippy on the way back. It was just, what a nice day. So those were my experiences of university interviews. If you do have any questions about anything that I briefly mentioned, didn't go into a lot of detail about, you can just leave a question down below and I will get back to you. But now let's move on to some tips and tricks. So my first little tip is don't see it as a test. Don't get yourself worked up before an interview in the same way that you might do for an exam, because an interview is not an exam. All the interviewer wants to do is get a better idea of you and who you are and your thoughts and ideas about what you're going into. And this is extremely important for primary education, because in teaching your personality often means a lot more than the grades that you get on paper. So that's all they want to do in an interview. They want to see what kind of person you are, what you could bring to the university, if you would fit in here. They're not trying to trip you up or make you say something that's wrong. They just want to get a better idea of who you are. And on the same string as that little tip, remember that you have been chosen to come to this interview. They could have easily just declined your offer, but there's a reason that they want you to be there. There's a reason that they've given you an interview and they want to hear more of what you have to say. It's because you have something that they are looking for. So keep that in mind and don't stress out too much. The second little thing you need to keep in mind is they don't expect you to already know everything. That's the reason why you're going to university in the first place. Sure, if you're doing an interview to then study primary education, they might ask you a little bit about the 4 capacities of the Curriculum for Excellence or something along those lines, but you will not immediately get a red stripe through your name if you can't answer that. Sure, it's important to have some background knowledge of what it is that you're going to be studying, but in a lot of cases, especially in interviews for primary education, they want to hear about your experiences more than your knowledge that you already have. I suppose the most that you can do before going into an interview is read the newspaper, watch the news, have some background knowledge of current educational issues. Like if there's a policy that's getting debated in Parliament or something, have a little idea of what's going on there because they might ask you about it. But most importantly, you just need to show a willingness to learn. And my third tip is be honest. There is nothing worse than going into an interview and lying, because at the end of the day, they're then going to only ask more questions on top of that, and it's just going to roll and roll and roll and get bigger and bigger until it eventually trips you up somewhere. Speak from your own experience. Don't try and sugarcoat anything. If there's something that you've struggled with and they ask, tell them, because at the end of the day, they've probably struggled with the same things when they were training to be a teacher. One question I got asked in my Aberdeen Uni interview that I really liked was, explain a little bit about a teacher that's inspired you. And I thought that was a great question because it shows how something that's happened so long ago, a primary teacher that's really made an impact on your life, has then taken you to where you are now. It gives the interviewer a little idea of what you expect a teacher to be and what you hope to become. And without you needing to explain it explicitly, the answer to that question really proves the personal reasons why you want to be a teacher. And that's something that you don't want to lie about. You want to be 100% transparent and honest, because at the end of the day, everything's all written down in your personal statement anyway. Some interviews can be recorded and you don't want it to come back and bite you somewhere along the line. My fourth tip is a little bit more practical, and that is wear comfortable clothes. It's not a hidden secret that the more comfortable you are in what you're wearing, the more comfortable you'll be in a situation. Now, of course, I'm not telling you to rock up to your primary education interview in your like Adidas trackies or whatever, but don't go to the extreme. I think a good tip is wear what you might wear if you're going into a classroom. You don't want to wear anything too low cut, too tight. You don't want to wear like a pencil skirt to go to your university interview because you're just going to be uncomfortable and you're constantly going to be pulling it down and adjusting it. Stick to a pair of like nice trousers or a nice skirt with a pair of tights. Just wear what makes you comfortable, and remember that the clothes that you wear do give off a certain vibe. They can tell you a lot about a person, and you can definitely use this to your advantage. Express yourself a little bit through what you're wearing, and that'll give the interviewer a little bit of an idea about the type of person that you are, but at the same time, remember that you are at an interview. And my final little piece of advice is don't be afraid to take your time with answers. I feel like there's this misconception in interviews: if you don't come up with an answer straight away, you're wrong, or you failed, or you're not good enough compared to somebody else. But think about it, in real life, if someone asks you a question, you're never going to be able to provide an answer straight away, especially if it's based on your opinions on something. And that is the same in a university interview. Give yourself time to think. Nobody's expecting you to come up with an answer right off the bat. And similarly, it's okay to ask the interviewer to repeat the question. There is absolutely nothing wrong with that, and if it gives you a little extra bit of thinking time, then that is okay. And if they do ask a question that you have no idea what the answer is, or if something's just slipped your memory, that's okay too. Nobody's going to put a big red cross through your paper, open the door and kick you out if you can't provide one answer in an interview. Like, honestly, from personal experience, in my Aberdeen Uni interview, I got asked if I could recount the 4 capacities of the Curriculum for Excellence, and I got 3 and I could not for the life of me remember the last one. And I was sat there, I was like, oh no, I just can't think of it. What am I doing? What am I doing? I'm doing this wrong. I'm not going to get a place at the uni. I was like, I basically started really overthinking it in my head, and that kind of just got me more stressed out, and I wasn't even thinking about the question anymore. I was just thinking about how I wasn't ever going to get a place. And here we are. So even if you don't know an answer, you can still get a place. And I feel like that is the perfect place to stop this video. I feel like I've spoken so much today. If you guys do have any other questions, let me know down below in the comments and I'll be sure to get back to them. As always, replying to comments is my favourite part of making YouTube videos, so please ask away. If you do have a University of Aberdeen interview, please let me know because I might be around on campus and that would be really cool. So yeah, I'm going to end this video here. Thank you guys very much for watching. If you're not already subscribed to my channel, please do subscribe because it would mean the absolute world. And if you are subscribed, gold star to you. Thanks for being here and I'll see you again very soon. Bye!